Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some really fascinating research from Dr. Sudhindra S.G. And this is all about helping you, as teachers, master the art of learning and truly transform how your students hold on to what you teach them.
Okay, let's just jump right in with something pretty startling. This is called the forgetting curve, and wow, it shows that without any kind of review, students can forget half of what they've learned in just a single hour. Think about that. And after a week, it jumps to 90%. 90. All that hard work just gone.
So this is the big question for all of us, right? How in the world do we fight this? Well, the answer isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about understanding how the brain actually builds knowledge that lasts. To get started, we've really got to get a handle on the two totally different memory systems our students are using every single day in the classroom.
I love this analogy. Think of it this way. On one hand, you have short-term memory. It's like a little notepad in the front of the brain. Great for jotting things down, but it's temporary. Then you've got long-term memory. This isn't a notepad. It's a massive, sprawling library with shelves all over the brain. This is where information goes to stay.
So look at this. 7, 4, 1, 9. You can hold on to that pretty easily, right? Your brain's not really breaking a sweat. 4 simple chunks of info. No problem.
But now, try this one. 8, 1, 7, 2, 3, 0, 5, 6. Whoa. Okay, that feels totally different, doesn't it? You can literally feel your brain scrambling to keep all those pieces from just slipping away.
So what's going on here? It's because that mental notepad, our short-term or working memory, it has a really strict limit. We can only hold about 4 new chunks of information at a time. And that right there is a major bottleneck for learning. So this brings us to the really crucial point. The art of teaching is really the art of moving knowledge from that tiny, limited notepad into the huge, permanent library. And I think Dr. Sudhindra frames this perfectly. He says, memory is just like a muscle. Our brain is a muscle that can be trained. That just completely changes how we think about our job, doesn't it? We're not just delivering information, we're actually coaches, helping our students train their minds. And this is how that training works. It's a process. New information comes into short-term memory, sure, but it's the next step, active practice and repetition, that's key. That's what strengthens the connections in the brain, until eventually that information gets filed away for good in long-term memory. This is the only path to real learning.
Okay, so if practice is the key, how should we schedule that practice? Let's talk about what might be the single most effective technique for strengthening those memory muscles. It's called spaced repetition.
Oh man, we have all seen this. It's the classic cram session. A student tries to force 3 hours of studying into one massive effort right before an exam. The problem is, this approach just creates really weak, temporary connections that fade almost as fast as they're made. But now, contrast that with this. Instead of one long session, what if that student broke up the same amount of time into smaller 20-minute chunks over several days? It's a totally different approach, and it builds far more robust, durable pathways in the brain. It's a real game changer. Here's the key takeaway, and it is so simple but so powerful. When it comes to building memory, consistency over time beats intensity every single time. It really is about the steady drip, not the fire hose. But it's not just about repetition. There's another piece to this. The strongest memories, the ones that really stick, are the ones that are richly connected to stuff a student already has stored away in that big mental library.
Let's use a great example from Dr. Sudhindra's work. Imagine you need to help a student remember that Ra is the ancient Egyptian god of the sun. Okay, how do you make that stick?
Well, you've got to help them build connections. You could link it to something they already know, like the pyramids. Or you can get creative, even a little weird. The sun is hot. What else is hot? Ramen noodles. Hot ramen. Rah. Now that might sound silly, but honestly, the sillier and more personal the connection is, the better it works.
Because each new link you help that student create
becomes another pathway, another road back to that core fact. When you have enough of those pathways, the information gets anchored in their memory. It becomes almost impossible to forget.
So what does this all mean for your classroom tomorrow? Let's take all this research and boil it down into a practical toolkit that you can start using right away. All right, here it is, your toolkit. First, respect that 4-chunk limit by breaking down big ideas. Second, build spaced repetition right into your lesson plans instead of relying on cramming. Third, always build new knowledge on what students already know. And fourth, encourage those creative, personal, even goofy connections. And underlying it all is that final point. Remember that memory is a muscle, and you're the coach that helps train it. Ultimately, this research really empowers us with a new perspective. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What if we shifted our focus from just covering subjects to consciously being the architects of our students' long-term knowledge? If we make that shift, we can fundamentally change how they learn, not just for our class, but for life.